Hello all. In this video, we are going to understand about consumer behavior. I'll brief you about consumer behavior. We'll try to understand consumer behavior, like how things affect a consumer in his buying. So consumer behavior is subtle, it is complex, and often it is unobservable in nature. Some of the physical and mental activities that the consumers engaged in making purchases, we'll try to see how they make those, how this affects him in buying those purchases or making those purchases. Consumer behavior framework. If you look at the framework, a consumer has personal effects. It has personal effects. He has interpersonal effects and cultural effects. This affects his buying behavior. What are the personal effects? So it's the need and the motivation, his personality and self-concept, perception, learning and involvement, his attitude, and his decision making. So this form the part of personal effects. What are the interpersonal effects? It is the social class he is into, what is the reference group he is into, and then the cultural effects. Cultural effect is the culture he is into, and the diffusion and the social change. So this as a whole affects his buying behavior. If you look at consumer behavior is a mix of, it's interdisciplinary in nature. It's a mix of psychology, sociology, economics, and cultural anthropology. What is psychology? The study of the individual. What is social psychology? How individual operates in groups. Sociology, the study of groups. What is cultural anthropology? The study of humans in a society. And economics, which is an important component of economics, is the study of consumers. This whole, as such, forms this whole research forms part of a consumer behavior research. Why do we study consumer behavior? Because consumer behavior is a continuous process. What consumers were doing few years back, it will not be continued after few years later, because it is evolving. People get evolved. So it is a evolving consumer preferences. There is also the products life cycles. The products that we see in the market, there are shorter product life cycles now. The technology is getting developed faster. There's a changing lifestyles. People's lifestyles are changing. A need for consumer protection, environmental concerns, growth of services marketing, global marketing, and not-for-profit marketing. So this whole, this forms this affects the consumer behavior. How do we apply consumer behavior? Before going on to this, we all should know there is a concept called as a BAF. If anyone of you knows, BAF stands for benefits, advantages, and features. If you know, benefits sell, whereas advantages and features, they just add value. They don't sell. Benefits sell. So if a company wants to sell a particular product, it has to look at the opportunity in the market. So the opportunity for any particular product has to be analyzed. How do we analyze? We cannot analyze that in silos. You have to do consumer behavior research. So we have a market opportunity analysis as a company. Then it has to work out on target market selection, which market it has to select, and it has to work on the marketing mix. What is marketing mix? It is the 4 Ps. We all know about 4 Ps. So the first P of it is product. So when we are looking at the product which has to go into the market, so what size, shape, features, and packaging. So the company has to decide on the product, it has to decide on what size, shape, features, and packaging it has to introduce to the consumers. When it has to look at the price, the company has to decide and what should be the initial price, what sort of discounts it has to offer, how sensitive are consumers to the price. So these 3 aspects in price, the company has to work out on. Now, if you go on to the place, which is the 3rd P of marketing mix, we also have to see what type of retail outlet should sell the firm's offering. Will people buy online? So these are all the questions which will come to the corporate to answer for any product which has to be introduced into the market. Then comes the last P, which is the promotion. The questions which will arise in promotion is determining the most appropriate means of communicating with potential consumers, issues surrounding the use of comparative advertising. It serves as examples of discussions. So these are all the questions which needs to be answered. And these answers you will get when you do a proper consumer behavioral research. So an understanding of consumer behavior is also important for non-profit and social marketing. So if you want to run some anti-smoking or quit campaign, it is also important for government decision making if you want to apply government tax changes, labeling laws. So what do? They use this consumer behavior, and then to reach out to the consumer, they might be making some documentary or they will be making some small advertising on that, and they can use it for deterrence to the consumers. So what not to do, what to do, this will be conveyed to the consumers by this non-profit or the government bodies. How do the decision or how the buying roles are defined in the decision making of a consumer? We should know that when there's a buying process, for a buying process of a consumer, we always have an initiator, we have an influencer, we have a decider, we have a buyer, and we have a user. These are the roles which are played by the family if it is a consumer. When we look at a consumer, he must be in a family or something, and there is a buying process which involves this sort of roles. There might be an initiator in the house, there might be an influencer in the house, there might be the decision maker in the house, there will be a buyer, and the users is the whole of the family. If it is a family, or if you look at it only at the B2C, which is like the end user, so user is a consumer. So this is the buying process. The initiator, for example, if you look at a family of 5, the initiator may be like, you need a toothpaste, for example, you need a toothpaste. The influencer might influence you to buy maybe like out of those choices of Colgate, Close-Up, or maybe Dabur or whatever. He will be influencing, maybe like your brother or sister might be influencing you to buy a particular Close-Up or a Colgate or whatever. There'll be a decision maker. So decision maker, like for example, we say like in a family of 5 or 6, maybe the mother takes the decision. Who is the buyer? Who has the money? So maybe the buyer pays for it, and users is the whole of the consumer. The whole of the family will be using that. What are the examples of consumer behavior roles? So I just explained you about toothpaste sort of Close-Up. So if it is, you're buying any FMCG product, so you decide on a repeat purchase or not, and then you buy and you use it. So these are the roles which are the initiators, influencer, decider, buyer, user. These all roles will be there in the family, and they will be buying it. On a business perspective, if you look at consumer behavior from a business perspective, the consumer's goal is to obtain goods and services that meet their needs and wants. People engage in purchases activities for many purposes other than consumption. Now, what is this? So maybe like, in the initial thing, like we had defined the personal aspects of a consumer behavior. So maybe it is his attitude, maybe it is personality, maybe certain things which have affected his personality might make him to buy certain things. So when we say that, a person, he gets into a job and then he wants to buy a car, maybe it is not the actual, like, he has a traveling problem and that's the reason he's buying a car. Maybe he has a inner motive which is defined in his, the way he has grown up or the way his personality has developed, that he needs to present it to, or he needs to present himself to the reference group that he is into, or maybe the reference group which he is moving around, that he wants to show that he has the ability to buy a particular thing. So it need not be a need or a want. It can be many other purposes than the normal consumption that he might buy certain things. Consumers make specific types of decisions in order to obtain desired goods and services. So they might make some specific types of decisions. Maybe like, a person, maybe if you're buying maybe shoes, maybe someone will buy shoes with heels, someone will buy without heels. So it's specific decisions in order to buy his particular goods and services, depends on each person, on his personality. Consumers face varying problems associated with acquiring products to satisfy these needs and wants. So this is obvious. So it also depends on the economics that applies, which is the budget that he has. So he might be facing varying problems also associated in acquiring those particular products. As a company, when we look at a corporate, as a company, the company has to sell its product into the market. They need to continuously do a research on consumer behavior. So what the company's role is, company has to find out what the consumers buy. Why do they buy? Where do they buy? When they buy? How often they buy? These answers need, you need resolution for this particular answers. And the company searches these answers in the target market where they intend to push their product or they want to push their products into the market. They have to do market research or they have to do a consumer research in specific. And they have to get the answers for these questions so that they will be able to address those 4 P's which we spoke about before. And those 4 P's need to be answered. So for this particular role, the company will do the whole research and they will introduce a particular product into the market. So what did we do today? We did today was the nature of consumer behavior. We looked at application of consumer behavior. We saw the consumer decision-making process. We saw the individual determinants and external environments which affects the consumer decision-making process. So this is the review. Thank you. Thanks a lot.